Hello friends, welcome back to Value Vintage Cards. This video I want to chat a little bit about just how well we know our own collections. I think that I collect in a pretty broad um, scale. You know, one of my missions is to collect one playing days card of every MLB Hall of Famer. So that's a pretty aggressive scale to collect in. Um, I'd also like to collect as many sets as I can. I don't know that every set is realistic, and there's probably some sets I would just choose not to. What's contained in the set uh, just isn't interesting enough, and maybe the set's close enough to something else that exists. So, um, my definition, I'd say I'm pretty gosh darn close to wanting one of every set, but not necessarily every single set. I'm definitely a player collector at heart, um, but I'm not a super collector of one player per se, but I have probably 20 to 30 players that I collect pretty significantly, at least enough that it would, draw my attention. If there's a set out there that I don't have, I look for one of those, few players from that era that I collect. So if you look through my collection, um, any given era, there's probably three or four players that I focus on pretty heavily. And then I like unique. So I'm very much into the stuff you don't see every day, the exotic, what Rick affectionately calls oddball. Just anything that you're going to say is something that's uh, different, special, low populations, whatever else. I just like something that's different. So one of the things I do when I sort my cards, and I don't know how many of you guys do this, I have alphabetical. I've got about a dozen boxes alphabetical. I've got some boxes down below over there that are sets. Every so often they show up on video when I don't want them to, but they're sets, they're commons, they're things that probably some people would just burn because they're junk wax era unknowns. So I have a lot of Mickey Tettletons in my collection that are just sitting in boxes currently. So I don't know what I'll do with those long term. Maybe I'll move on from some just to save space and save my family the eventual challenge of figuring out what's what, or at least label them enough to say like donate, give away. Um, find some young collectors maybe that would be interested in just seeing something that's probably feels vintage to them because it's 40 years old, but for me it's a mid 80s card. But one of the things I do, I have I think it's up to five boxes now where I pull kind of my biggest slash favorite slash just cards that I want to probably get through more often than others. So if you ask me for a early 70s Willie McCovey, it's probably alphabetically in a box. I do separate out the ones I collect by player alphabetically. So standard Hall of Fame runs, things like that, are kind of all in boxes and organized, and most of it's ungraded, but they fit in the standard shoebox storage. And then I've got, I think it's up to five boxes now, and to get inside my brain would probably hurt most people to even try and understand. But box one is kind of by value, box two is kind of by value, and then three and four kind of split between pre-war and more, what do you call it, modern vintage? I don't know. Golden era, 50s, 60s, 70s vintage. And then I've got like a box five I've started that's kind of just other sports slash other cool cards that maybe they're not worth that much, but they're awesome. So I'm going to just pull those and put those into a box. So in my mind, that all makes sense. In reality, that's probably confusing as all get out for most people. But this is box two. So people say, like, how do you store things? I've got SGC on the one side, I've got PSA on the other, and I've got oversized, and then I've got one Beckett that's just standing up there. Um, I probably have room for one or two more items in here, but this is box two. So for me, box one is my biggest cards. Box two is kind of the runner-up box. There's about 90. It does drive me insane. I can't fit 100 in either one of these, but 90 plus, 93, 95, 96. I don't know that 100's ever going to be possible with having the oversized things in there. But my oversized collection is so significant, and I do want to include it in those boxes that for me mentally, the trade-off and the challenges is too great. So I deal with it. This is a mix of 70s back to old Judge era. So about 100 years of card run. The really interesting thing when I sorted this the other day, I've been really thinking about my focus and how I go towards, rare, odd, unique. There's 90 some cards in here. What is really crazy to me, I pulled these for another show we were doing. Let's see if I can pull a few of these. When I did this, I got another one that I really should pull if I'm going to do that. Um, I really went through. Oh, it's in the other box. That's right. And I was just looking how many of these are like standard, base issues. Topps, Bowman, Beckett era, 48 and up kind of cards. I was shocked. So out of 90 some cards, I would have guessed. I mean, maybe I'm down to 15 or 20 would be my guess. And the answer, I believe, is six. Um, that's crazy. So the only thing that's in this box, I've got my Mickey Mantle where they say the minimum size was not met. So I'm going to assume that was not intentional because I've had that card forever. So 54 Bowman Man makes it in this box. My 48 Bowman Musial makes it in this box. Tom Terrific, Tom Seaver rookie makes it in this box. Sandy Koufax rookie makes it in this box. And the reason I was pulling this the other day, we were talking about the best looking cards. So John Mangini and I were on four collectors, Sammy Thunder, and this is what I picked for 1956. So I was going through this box and looking at different cards. Um, and a lot of what I picked for that show probably came out of this box. But how crazy is that? That's five. The only other one I have is this Beckett slab, which is also very, very cool. 1949 Bowman, Larry Doby. I don't think I've shown that one on this channel just yet, so um, I thought this would be kind of a fun way to do a little show and tell of a few things, but really explaining. That's it. The whole rest of the box is craziness. um, there's ones that look normal, but it really speaks to how I collect. So it's kind of a Nolan Ryan rookie, but it's the Milton Bradley version. It's not the Topps version. So that one's awesome. I've got a 68 Topps of Tom Seaver, but it's the Venezuelan version. So that one doesn't really qualify as being, purely uh, standard issue. I've got, I don't know where you want to count this one. This 49, we used to call it 48 leaf DiMaggio. Um, for me, I guess I'm going to count that as, I don't know. That's like the transition point. I don't know if that counts as standard or to me, Leaf was always exotic. I never really saw these card shops and wherever else. So I always kind of considered this set to be a little extra special and not just a Topps Bowman issue from the era. But um, I think that DiMaggio is spectacular. I'm very happy to have that. So that is also in this box. And then the other one from PSA that looks like a 67 Topps, but isn't. I guess it is actually. Technically, it is a 67 Topps. It's just the Venezuela Topps of Mickey Mantle. That one actually, I kept thinking it was way rougher and clunkier than it is, but it's got a little bit of issues on the back. But for the most part, that's a pretty nice card. I gotta stop talking down my cards. That one's actually really nice. So happy to have a Venezuela medal. Um, so what the heck? Got the box out. Show you some more fun. I'll go PSA because PSA is kind of a good run of uh, my collection. So a few of these I just showed. I guess well, depending on when I release this video, I'm a pre-recorder. It's the teacher in me. I like to have a little bit of backlog. So I'll record a lot of these videos are not day of release, but maybe week of. But Garrett Propaganda, Montiel, Garrig, Retirado, 67 Venezuelan. Um, Sticking with that, I did just show this as well. 67 Venezuelan Hornsby. That thing's a stupid mark on the back. Uh, Pretty gosh darn clean card. Um, Love that thing. 46 Propaganda Montiel. These cards are always crazy shape. Um, 69 Topps Super. I think I've shown that at least once or twice. So a lot of these I've shown. They're some of the best in my collection, some of the most fun ones. So it's the box I go through quite a bit. This thing stapled on. Staple was not removed carefully enough. So gosh darn you. But what a great set. Lake to Lake, Henry Aaron. 1960. So that's super fun. It turned out to be a little bit longer video between my explanation at the start and just running through some of these things. But these actually are a pretty significant representation in my somewhat big boxes. The Venezuelan collections um, really got some value to it and a lot of amazing players. So Ty Cobb, that one's actually it's got a big crease to it, but it's pretty clean. Ted brutalized, but Ted's a big card in that set. He is in most sets, but that set has some crazy big cards. He's kind of in that like 1A here. He's not quite in the top few, but he's up there. Great card. This thing I don't think I've shown. I picked this up at an auction, and it's funny because I think Rick commented on it. He said like, "Ah, things getting priced out," and I was like, "Well, I think I'm the high bidder at that point. I don't think it went any higher." So it was a little on the expensive side. But Mathewson's one of those people I collect. When you're going at auctions, sometimes auctions get bid up. I trust eBay a lot less than I trust the REA and some of the other legitimate auction houses because I feel like there's not so much shilling. There might be some people that are bidding a bit outside the scope of what it should be, but I don't think you have as many like shill bids going on in those. Maybe I'm naive and silly, but the 1909 German baseball stamp, Christy Mathewson. So I think that's cool. Worldwide Gum. Love this. Take something that is somewhat normal in a Gaudi and make it a Canadian issue and reduce the pop down to 5 to 10% of what Gaudi is. Put that in pretty nice shape. Jimmy Fox and a 3. Um, Another one of those best looking cards in the world. My Rube lives in box 2. E93. Beautiful card. That was one that John Mangini chose as a best looking E series card. And I would 0% blame him for that choice. I think that is a phenomenal looking issue. Zero problem looking at that all day. Got quite a few more. I'm going to run through this whole PSA side, but I'll try and go a little faster. DeLong, Jimmy Fox. Hell, I appreciate Jimmy Fox pretty well. This era, 32, 33, US Caramel. Um, this set is tough. So when you find a chance to get something in like a four, that was an auction house one. I don't see a lot of Bill Terry's come up. So he's a tougher one, it seems, to find anywhere. That was a fun pickup. Was a one I just acquired from a friend. They're Jimmy Fox. Jimmy with a Y. Oh, peachy. Canadian issue. Tough, tough set. And acquired from a friend. So that checks, again, I would say, like, checks a lot of boxes. Love that. So 37 O-Pee-Chee. Super cool. Love that card. Love that set. W502. These are hand cut. The grade on these just upsets me because if that was like a millimeter off, it'd be authentic and it would get less oohs and ahs for absolutely no reason. It would look just the same, minus a fraction of a millimeter, but it's a five. So all that tells me is it's not creased up. The corners aren't super crazy dinged, and it's a nice looking Hornsby. So W502. Crackerjack. Comiskey Crackerjack card. The 1.5 looks nice and clean. That was one that I wanted for quite a while, so I was happy to have a CJ of Comiskey. Um, that one, I believe I've shown before. That's actually a really good value, Walter Johnson, if you're looking for a value Johnson option. T207. Maybe not the best image in the world, but great value. Still cool. Next one, E94. Super tough set. Tris Speaker. Green. Super shiny, bright, vibrant green. 34. Gaudy. Hank Greenberg. And, I don't mind ones and cards are graded pours. That thing looks pretty clean to me. It's messed up in all the right ways. And I absolutely love these Lou Gehrig says. To me, that's excellent. Back to US Caramel. Jimmy Fox. Pretty solid one. That's a pinhole card. I love pinhole cards. T205 for Speaker. Old slab. And while we're on the Tris Speaker topic, back to T207. His T207 is tough. So I feel like Walter Johnson is a good value. Tris Speaker, you do pay a premium for. Um, Great image, though. Love that image. I mean, that's just great. All right. Last six. I'm done with my PSAs and I'll call it complete. That's one I just showed recently. Love that thing. What a neat set. It's goofy, but that is the original air guitar card. It's an N284 gold coin. Big Sam Thompson. What a cool image. And not easy to get a Sam Thompson card. So that Hall of Fame goal, got to check off some crazy unique boxes sometimes. This one I love. I've shown this on the channel at least once. By Addy Joss T205. It is authentic altered. The corner is clipped. Other than that, the borders and everything else look remarkable. So I'm all about, it's a 99% and it gets an authentic. So I'm good. And then it does have a mark on it because I don't know what it is. My 69 Topps Nolan Ryan Jeff had, and this one is Samuel Garrow. Track that guy down, ask him what the heck he was thinking in like 1911. 1913 Tom Barker. I showed this one as kind of an opportunity to get a bargain Ty Cobb. And it's really just because it's not labeled Ty Cobb. So the minute you don't call it Ty Cobb, even though it's Ty Cobb, you have a chance to get a little bit of a deal. It's still, it's not $50, but it's a cool one. 1922 Nielsen's Chocolate Type 2. There's Type 1 and Type 2. My Type 1, I don't think made it in this box because the condition doesn't quite warrant that it would be in my top couple hundred cards. Type 2 is in pretty spectacular condition. These are actually pretty shiny and glossy. They're just the light reflecting on this one for some reason, quite heavily. But they actually are a pretty shiny, glossy type of card. That's such a classic Sisler pose. You see that over and over and over between E120, E121s. Some of the strip cards have this pose, and then you get it on this thing. But in a decent grade, these can be a little bit of dollars. W514, this is one of the highest graded. I think it's one of the two or three highest graded. And again, grade, who cares? But um, that's not a super common card anyway. George Sisler, W514, but it's in a 7. So that one carries a little bit of value just because the number slapped on it, but it's a pretty tough set, pretty tough card. So no issues with having that in box 2. And then the grand finale, one of those old ones. So old Judge, quite literally an old one. Dan Brothers. Get that to show up a little bit cleaner for y'all. Some of these old Judge get to be so faded. This one's got a little bit of staining on it, but he's catching the ball there. That's kind of what I think that's what they call it. Catch, hands cupped. Um, some of these get so faded that I'll look at them, and even if they have a grade on them, like they're not enjoyable, unfortunately. Old Judge seems very, very subject to fading issues. This one, I think, for the most part, the image is pretty enjoyable. Got the little loss in the bottom and some staining and whatever else, but I mean, good lord, it's 1880 something. So, and a Dan Brothers at that. So it's not even like it's just a card, but it's a elite Hall of Famer that's tough to get. So that's what I've got, and that's honestly, SGC is the same story, and the oversized stuff, of course, is not going to be standard. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. It really has me kind of reflecting on how I collect and how much I am uh, off the beaten path of what's ordinary, regular, common, mainstream, whatever verbiage we want to use for that. But Topps and Bowman are generally not on my search list at this point, with rare exception. There's a few, but for the most part, I'm into what's different. We wore interesting Venezuelans, Cuban cards, subsets, regional issues, things like that. That's what's really catching my eye for the last several years. But without those, kind of traditional golden age vintage, we never really quite get here. But it's where I'm at right now. So, just curious, do you feel like your collection is where your intention and attention is, or do you feel like you're still kind of um, overcoming, transitioning? I've been making some trades, so I'll move out of some of the more often seen items in order to get into something that's super tough and scarce without having to, look in the bank account at all. You just have to simply make a swap. But where's your focus? Where's your mindset? Are you still, kind of building the base? Is your intention always just to be collecting a certain player, a certain set? How do you collect? How do you hobby, if you will? Just curious, but my collection is getting more and more eclectic and kind of interesting as time develops and evolves. So that's all I got. I will catch up with y'all on the next video. Take care.